Good evening, campers. It's me, Kieran, and as part of the Booker Boy Book Club, yes, we've got a brand new swanky logo. And if you would like to support me, there is a coffee link down below where you can support the channel, gain access to the Discord, or be able to choose any book that you want for me to review. Links to that all down below. But today we are going to talk about China Room by Sunjeev Sahota. Now, Sahota is no newcomer when it comes to Booker. His second book, The Year of the Runaways, was shortlisted, and the follow-up book, this being his third, has been longlisted on this year's. China Room is not going to be the book for you if you're looking for something fast, if you're looking for something plotted. This is a very slow book. Not to say that nothing happens, it's just quiet. And for me, this is like the perfect level of quiet, because we're dealing with two timelines where not so much paranoia is taking place, but there's something unsettling. There's something that the character doesn't know that we as the reader are going to find out along with them. Now, I say that there's two timelines, but this isn't a dual narrative as such. Neither are they interconnected stories. One almost hangs above the other one and is dropped into place when necessary. But we're going to focus with the timeline first, that's in 1929. 15-year-old Meha is going to be married. This is an arranged marriage, but nevertheless there is some excitement in the air. The only catch is that she doesn't know who she's going to be married to. Not because she hasn't met him, he's there, but there are three men in this room, and next to Meha there are two other girls. The women don't know who they are going to marry, and we're going to follow these women trying to figure out how they're going to deduce and the creative ways that they come to in order to identify that person. We see them added different spices to the same plates of food in hopes that they're able to smell the ginger, the chili when they meet in the China Room. It's dark in the China Room. The girls are there only to bear children. But due to the conditions of the China Room, the girls can never tell. They're picking up on small, subtle nuances, such as how calloused are the man's hands. In the daylight, they're looking at the hands to see, well, whose hands could it be? This slow burner reveal does take its time, but around this we see how Sahota has given Meha not just that determination to see who her husband is, but also she wants to be free. She has her own dreams and aspirations. She's thinking about the future, not just now. Will things change? How things could change? And is she able to live the life that she wants within her culture, within her heritage? She wants liberation. She wants to break free of the boundaries. The boundaries that she knows is the China Room. She wants to be outside of there. And as a reader, we're going to have an encounter with one of the men out in a field. And that encounter is going to change the course of this story. We're going to see how everything becomes intertwined with the wives and the husbands. That conflict of freedom and confinement makes sense. Of course, Meha would want to leave the China Room. Why would anyone want to stay in that situation? Well, let's move on 70 years, 1999. Now, this person doesn't have a name. The narrator, I'm going to call him for ease. He comes over to India from Britain and finds solace and refuge within the China Room. Now, this narrator is related to Meha, the grandson. Why has the narrator who lives in Britain decided to pack a bag full of books and come over to India to stay in the China Room? Well, he wants to find solace and compassion. He wants to find understanding, but he's had freedom outside of the world, and due to his traumas, he's fallen down to being addicted to drugs. The China Room almost is a way for him to go cold turkey, but don't expect a train spotter scene. Sahota's not going to be writing about babies climbing up walls. To crassly put it, the narrator has almost had the life that Meha wants outside of the culture and the heritage. He hasn't had to deal with arranged marriage. He's completely free, but is almost returning back to his roots, to where this story began, in order to find something within himself, in order to unlock who he is as a person. More so, I found that Sahota's put in across the idea that despite the hardships that we come across in life, if we're able to overcome them, we're going to learn something about ourselves, something that would have been hidden and shrouded from us. And this is why I feel it's difficult to compare and contrast these stories, because they only really have two keystones. That is, they are tied by the China Room, and that they're tied by blood. Despite the adversities and issues that they're dealing with, there's no real interaction between them. And the structure of China Room lends itself to that. Each chapter doesn't fluctuate between Meha narrator, even though you would think he would want to do that. Instead, we have chapter after chapter after chapter on Meha, and then we get narrator. And as we go through the story, the narrator's chapters become closer to Meha's. Not that they meet, but they come in a quicker succession as they both try to find their solace, as they both try to find compassion, as they both try to find what they need to do. One thing I can foresee critics saying is that Meha's storyline towards the end, it doesn't really simmer. It just stops. Not abruptly. It just slows and stops. I suppose what I think Sahota is trying to communicate is that, well, you can assume what has happened after the end, because you have the narrator, and we know snippets of his family. You know snippets of where he's come from, but maybe the narrator doesn't know Meha's story. Maybe it's not his story to tell. And Sahota has spoken that he felt as though Meha's story wasn't his to tell. Right at the end, we have a photo of his grandmother and Sunjeev Sahota, which I think is like a really beautiful way of closing off this story. I think it's a really powerful. It didn't need to be added. It didn't need to. But it just adds a. Well, did everything work out in the end? Maybe not the way that we expect. Maybe not in the way that the characters expect. Meha's chapters are a lot stronger than narrators. I didn't really feel any attachment to the narrator, apart from when you see him fall back into addiction. When the narrator story and Meha's are getting closer, I kind of just want to hear about Meha. Meha's story is so strong, it's so interesting, that it takes a lot for another storyline to kind of battle. And I think when I'm speaking about China Room to people, I'm probably going to focus more on Meha than the narrator. Sunjeev Sahota's China Room, I would give a 6. It's quiet, but it doesn't mean that it's silent and void.